Hello, everybody. It's Marcy again from wavesofcommunication.com, and I am here with another video for you to provide some strategies to help you teach your late talking child how to shift from nonverbal communication and use all the language that you hope through spoken language, and that's what I do. I'm an intuitive language facilitation consultant and speech language pathologist, and all of the videos that I produce on Facebook and YouTube are designed to help parents. So remember, the strategies that I talk about in all these videos are general. And that means that you're going to have to do some adaptation. You're going to have to do some work on your own to adapt these strategies to use with your child at home, because I train parents to be language facilitators. And because these strategies are general, they may not apply to everybody watching this in their perfect form. That's why you've got to make some adjustments yourself. And if you're looking for guidance to get very specific strategies that could work for you in your family and you want a customized plan, that's when you need to visit wavesofcommunication.com to learn about my parent coaching programs. So today is a really exciting video because this is a topic that was brought up by one of the parents in my Waves of Communication community, one of my client parents. Because what everybody needs to understand whenever you get started with any kind of progression, but particularly language facilitation, is that the progress goes in waves. There's lots and lots of ups and downs in this whole process of learning spoken language because you're changing habits. You're giving up the old way to communicate through dragging around, pointing those things, and shifting it into spoken language. Now, in the process of kids being late talking, they use other things to communicate. And also, many children who are late talking also are late walking, they have trouble eating, many different kinds of other issues, sometimes as a result of the late talking and other times as a result of other factors that maybe also contributed to the late talking. For example, autism spectrum disorders, Down syndrome, seizure disorders, any kind of problem that presents in your child's life that could cause them to have functional skill deficits. So functional skills, when I talk about that, that's the things that we need to get through life successfully. Walking, eating, sleeping, and those are basics. Then there's breathing, of course, those things that obviously we need to live and be successful, the very basics. Oh yeah, potty is the other one. These are skills that we need to be successful across different environments and to potentially be independent, to live without our parents, taking care of all those needs. Now, children who are late talking often learn these skills late because many of these skills are easier to acquire in a functional manner. Like, that means functional independent on their own, not you hand over hand helping them through these things. This is functional learning and of skills that you want your child to get. And most of these skills, like eating and walking in particular, potty training as well, are ones that parents and therapists, ABA, speech, OT, PT even, will focus on the ultimate goal to develop these functional skills. So perhaps your late talker has been in therapy, you've been working with them, there's been some kind of work towards progress towards one of these functional skills that you've been trying to develop, and there's a decline because this is, remember, it goes like this in the waves. So that ups and downs of what's happening, this is what I'm going to be talking about today. What can parents do when these functional skills that your child works so hard to develop in their therapy and with you, when they backslide, when you hit the down in the wave of this whole process? So that's what we're going to talk about today. Now, the first thing that I want to tell you, let me see, I'm going to pull up some graphics for you here. The first thing that I want to remind you is that any change in behavior and or regression of skills is not random. It doesn't just happen because it happens. There is always a trigger to cause kids to, what I wrote here, to misbehave, okay? And when we talk about misbehaving, that's a great way to talk about and describe this, a word to use for it, because it reflects a lot about what happens when children show a change in their behavior, right? It's not a random change, but it is a change that happens, and it's not random, it's always triggered. So the most important thing that parents can do and learn is that they have to analyze. You have to analyze the environment. You have to understand where these triggers come from. So environmental stress from the pandemic is a really good one. Think about it. Just the volatility of the politics around it, of the schooling situation, it's causing all kinds of stress in families' households, just the change. And it's not that the new solutions are easier or harder. It literally is that they are different. Because many parents who are following me have, responded to the changes presented in your schedule, in your activity availability, all those things. You've responded in positive ways. But other ones, when these things are not available anymore, you react in a different way. So what the problem is when this happens is that when kids are triggered, these previously learned skills become more challenging. It's kind of like when you go to a test. Like, let's say you were in college and you took a test, or you were going to take a test, and you stayed up all night and you studied all the time and you were ready to take the test, and then right before you were going into the test, you found out that your dog passed away, right? Your dog that you loved from your childhood, or some other really tragic situation triggered your mind to be distracted from whatever you studied for your test, and you go in and you take the test, and maybe you will, do as well or not, as you did before, but it's going to be more challenging to get there, right? Even if you get the same exact score that you would without it, most people would get a lower score when you're triggered like that. And even if you do, the effort to get that score will be more challenging because you're already distracted by this stressor that was a trigger for you, to trigger your mind to be distracted in some kind of worry or fear or something other than what you're supposed to be focusing on, what you even want to be focusing on, okay? So these outside stresses are the triggers, the changes that happen in the world are the triggers that cause this, what seems like behavior, the skills that you taught your child, for those things to go away, and they start to have more trouble again. And then the other thing that you need to think about too is, what about other things that cause these triggers? So what causes it other than environmental factors of things that are changing? Kids need these opportunities to regulate their physical systems and access to many of the activities that you usually do to do these things. Therapies, park visits, all those things are suddenly not available, and parents are without resources, right? So this could be another thing that is triggering. In both of these two, environmental things and physical things, like maybe your child did have a physical problem with their, Down syndrome or whatever, their late talking, their ear infections, all of those things were physical in them. You work to overcome them, triggers come, and they fall back in physical. Environmental, they might be just fine and copacetic and really doing great in their school, and then COVID comes and school changes, and they start to be not successful there anymore. Old behaviors may come back, all these other things may happen, and parents will look at them as misbehaviors because they are not behaviors that you expect. You expect your child to continue to use these skills after you taught them, and when they suddenly don't start using them functionally anymore because they're emotionally triggered, environmentally triggered, or physically triggered by this environment, you wonder, is there something wrong with my child, right? Have they actually really lost these skills? And the answer is no, because if they were using them functionally before the trigger, they still have the skill. It's just the trigger that is getting in the way of moving forward, okay? So here's another example I want to show you. So here's this little girl who is in her sense of time, she is not wanting to eat regular food. At the beginning, she had a lollipop there, so her mom must have given her a lollipop to like get her interested in it. She has chucked the lollipop because this mom's like, nope, you've got to eat real food. The mom's worried about it. The mom said something. The child comes, and then look, the child actually reacted by hitting, and what does the mom do? She reacts by hitting the child back. Okay? Because parents may confuse the internal struggle and resistance that kids have as a result of their triggers to, they resist this challenge, and parents think that it's defiance when it's not defiance at all. It's just their not being regulated. They're afraid of this situation. They're afraid this situation is going to cause them some unpleasant reaction or response. And that's why they don't want to participate in it. Before they might have. And then you try to bribe them with things, and bribes don't overcome fear. It's just a temporary distraction. And that's what happened with this little girl. Whatever's causing her to be resistant from doing this thing, it's going to cause it to look like it backslides. And then what happens with parents is they double down, right? So here's the next example I want to show you. So this little girl, look, she is like refusing to eat, and this is a really kind of massive example because this does not look very appetizing at all, and it's very obvious to see why this child is not interested in eating this thing. But instead of reacting to those fears, with punishment, like now you've got to eat the whole bowl and sit here, if you work together and problem solve the solutions, like maybe we can cook something different, maybe we can find something different, and you participate in the food preparation that we work with together because I understand you're afraid of this thing you don't want to eat, that's when you can see progress, because now there's not resistance to eating the food you don't want to eat, doing the thing you don't want to do. There's no resistance to it because now you've made the task seem easier, nicer, fairer, right? And in the process of doing this, you see, the goal has to be to achieve a positive outcome with the new reality. And that's post-trigger. So now this kiddo's eating something different. But look, she's eating all by herself. She's happy to eat. The mom could have stuck, who knows what in there. The sweet potatoes that she was chopping up, they smushed up and put in pancake batter, and the kid got to eat, got the same nutrition in a different way. And so this is what you need to think about. When you see that your child has these skills or losing, or you're triggered, basically you are triggered because you look at your child and they used to be doing something that suddenly they're not doing anymore, and it doesn't matter what it is. The change is always caused by a trigger, and as a result, those skills backslide. It's not that they forgot how to do them. They might be evolving out of them. They might be evolving into something different. But this analysis of what is going on around you to cause change that has thrown off your child's regular schedule and has got them on the back foot trying to say no, 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 no. If you're starting to hear a lot of refusals from your child, that means they're not feeling safe in their environment. They're feeling some kind of fear of oppression, fear of you making them do stuff, fear of new people, fear of new situations, and working through these new situations is going to be very, very important for you. Getting your child on board to problem solve together, to have a win-win situation. Because remember, the goal is for the child to be eating healthy food. Does it matter what form it gets in there, right, at this stage? Because, yeah, it would help if my child would chew things, but if it's making them have anxiety about chewing right now, then maybe we'll take a step back to purees for a little while, make sure my kid has enough nutrition to participate in the therapy or work that I'm doing so that we can make progress. But what typically happens when parents see kids backsliding is they double down and they force the issue more, and they try to pull things back to get what used to be without understanding that there's been a trigger to cause the whole thing to go upside down and flat. And it could be a massive thing that happens all at once, Or it could be little annoying things over and over and over that cause your child, the straw that broke the camel's back, that notification about your dog dying right before the test, the one thing to rock your world, to make your everyday life so different that you've got to do things in a new way. And change is good. A lot of people avoid change. A lot of people fear change. In today's world, in 2020, it literally changes every day. In the United States, we're in the middle of change. We're not going to know the answer to who's going to be all of our election results for days or weeks potentially. We can't freak out. We have to keep moving forward with our life. And then when we get a new president and we get a new situation, our country will have to adjust to a new situation where we have a new reality, a new now, a new normal, a new situation. And with all the changes that are happening in everybody's life, it's up to you. You run the bubble of your family. You work through these challenges and the kinds of things that pop up every day. And if you see skills backslide, don't assume that your child is being lazy or that they don't want to, because they're refusing for a reason. You work out what that reason is, and then you can get them right back on track, because remember, they learned those skills the first way somehow. If they were truly functional for your child and they were using those skills independently, your child was eating, walking, talking, doing whatever on their own without prompting, and then those skills go away, it's because they were triggered, and you have to find a way to get them back on the path that got them those skills in the first place. And that only works if it's functional. If your child is only repeating words or doing things on a prompt, those prompt-based skills will bottom out every time something changes. But that doesn't mean that your child will get it back. It just means that the prompting has stopped, because prompt-based behaviors will stop when you stop prompting. And in order to do language facilitation, you have to stop prompting. So that's another, I'm just going to say that caveat out there about speech. If your child is only talking after you prompt them to say a word or a phrase, they're only expanding their language when you say it, they're only saying more when you hold the cookie back or whatever, if all of their spoken language is prompt-based and you stop prompting, like in my Swapping the Prompting Challenge, which you need to do if you haven't already and you're prompting, you can find it on my YouTube channel, Swapping the Prompting Challenge. If you have not stopped prompting your child, then most of what they're saying is only happening because you're pulling it out of them. With language facilitation, we stop pulling the language out, we provide the language in, and then the language models that your kid needs to learn to say the words, and then we provide opportunities to practice listening and talking in functional situations. That's how functional language facilitation works. That children learn to develop language naturally in their everyday activities from those adults or talkers who are facilitating language for them. That's how this all works. Now, if you are heavily prompting your child and you stop prompting, your child's going to talk less. It's going to happen. And you could freak out and say, oh no, things are happening because my child isn't knowing how to talk, and now because I'm not prompting, they don't do it. And then you double down and go back and prompt them more, just because it makes you feel better that they're actually saying words. You need to understand that those words are not functional language. And so language, eating, sleeping, potty training, running outside, any of these functional skills a child needs to be successful can develop like this. And every time there's a trigger at the top, it makes the skills go down. Every time there's a trigger at the bottom, it makes the skills go up. With natural spoken language, the trigger that makes the skills go down is prompting. At the bottom, the skill that makes the trigger, I should say the trigger that makes the skills go down is prompting. The trigger that makes the skills go up is providing slow spoken language models. That's always how it is. It's literally that easy with language facilitation. Now, in order to get it in 2 to 3 hours a day, every day at your house, the right kind of language models, you need to figure out how to put language facilitation into your everyday activities. There are videos on my channel, more than 300 videos on my YouTube channel, to talk about how you can do that. Literally everything from when you first wake up in the morning until you're snuggling into bed for your nighttime story time, you can be facilitating language in every moment you have with your child. So if right now you are stuck at home with your child because schools are closed and pandemic is there and all of this stuff is going on, you're in lockdown right now, take advantage of this time. You can teach your child to get back on track with any of the skills that you feel like were backsliding. And it all happens because of triggers, and you all can get them back on track. That's just how it works with all of this. So I see some people saying, hi, I'm not seeing any other questions for today's video. Really quick, I'm just going to put the last call out there. If you're watching me live and you have a question or you want to say hi, go ahead and post it in this video right now. And I'm just going to tell you really quick one more time how to access all the resources. So I have a book. It's available on Amazon. It's called If It Isn't Fun, It Isn't Fun. Teach Your Child to Talk Faster Than Speech Therapy. You can head over to Amazon and get it on Kindle, on paperback, and on Audible. You can also register for my independent study course. It's on my website. There's actually a free introductory class that's an hour and a half long that you can watch through to understand the kind of information you're going to learn in that. And that's also a great class for you to take if you're going to be just learning on your own off of YouTube. That's the fundamental start, is the free class on my website, wavesofcommunication.com. So you just head over there, check out the free class. In the free class, it explains exactly how you can use the resources no matter how much you want to invest. If you have no money to invest, you can learn how to learn language facilitation for free. It just takes more work on your part. If you've got money to invest, you can invest in private coaching and have me tell you exactly how to do it the whole way through for a lifetime. There's all range, all in the middle, about what you can do to access the resources you need to learn. Because my platform, Waves of Communication, is not a speech therapy platform. It is a parent coaching and consulting platform where I teach parents like you watching this video how to teach your children who are late talking. It doesn't matter why they're late talking. It doesn't matter how old they are. It doesn't matter where you live or how many languages you speak in your house. You can improve your child's spoken language from where they are right now by changing their nonverbal communication into the spoken language that they can learn. You can build the neurotransmitters in their brain. You can build their language functionally with language facilitation. And you find out how on my website, wavesofcommunication.com. All right, let's see, any more questions popping in? No more questions for today. So thank you very much for watching me today. I will see you on my next video, which will be on Monday over on YouTube Live. And I'll see y'all then. Bye for now.